Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I know I said I was getting ready to do a Harley Davidson leaking front wheel video next, and I will. It's coming. However, it's Labor Day weekend, and I got a big pool party with some friends and stuff like that tomorrow. So I wanted to get a quick video tutorial on how I would tailor a shirt, right? So there's a couple of uses for this. In this occasion, I found this shirt for like $2 at a thrift shop. Of course, it was a $2 thrift shop shirt, but I'm going to be wearing it to a pool party, so it's pretty appropriate. However, it's way too big. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is show you how I would go about, or how I do go about, tailoring a shirt like this down to fit for the occasion. Now, I've got dress shirts, I've got all kind of stuff that I've used this method on, and I love it. It's simple, cheap, and it's easy. It's a lot cheaper than going out and finding a shirt that fits you properly, or finding one and getting it tailored. So as we move forward, pay attention. I'll take you along for the ride and show you what I'm gonna do to get this thing to fit me the way I want it to. So stay tuned, here we go. The first thing I'm gonna do, as you can see, is lay this shirt out. I buttoned it all the way up. I laid everything out nice and flat to where it's all smooth. And then I'm just simply going to reach inside of it, flip it inside out. To make sure it's nice and smooth. Don't worry about some of this stuff, I ain't too worried about it. The biggest thing is to make sure your seams, your edges are here, your armpit areas are pulled out nice and flat. Next thing I do is I take a known good shirt, one that fits me, I know it fits me properly, I like the way it fits, and all I'm going to do is lay that directly on top. Make sure the center of the collar is aligned perfectly. I have a little tape measure that I can check to make sure the shirt is centered. My pattern shirt is centered on the one that I'm adjusting. So in total, I'm taking 2.5 out of each side of this shirt. Now, all I'm going to do from here is throw a pin in at top and bottom so that it doesn't go anywhere. That's the first step. I've got it pinned down, I got it where I want it, and everything looks pretty centered, pretty flat, pretty smooth, okay? So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my little chalk here, a little chalk that they use, that actual tailors use. You can buy this stuff at Walmart, any place. But I'm gonna start up here in the armpit, and I'm just gonna start making little chalk marks on the shirt that I'm tailoring. I'm gonna run it all the way off the bottom. Now, you don't have to make it come in like this with this particular shirt because it won't be tucked in. So if your center comes in to where it's really form-fitting and it's not tucked in, it's gonna look really goofy. So this one I'm just kind of coming straight down with. Any of my dress shirts though, I will bring it in and I use an actual measuring tape to fit my sizes properly. But with this particular one, it's going to be more of a straight seam down the side because it'll be untucked. You know, I've always found funny is when I talk to my friends or people, you know, even sometimes my kids will make fun of me. They're like, "Dad, look at you go with a sewing machine, huh?" And you know, and it's funny to say that, but at the end of the day, if you watch back all your spy movies and stuff, the tailors they use are all men, are they not? And then, I mean, learning how to sew can never go wrong. It's never a bad thing. I've got the shirt laid out and marked the way I want it with my original. So I've got it chalked down. There's just some small, faint little lines on this shirt. So probably use the wrong color chalk, but they make that chalk in all kinds of colors. So don't worry about it. Now I'm just going to run through along this line. I'm going to reach in, my hands are going to go in from the bottom, thumb on top. I'm going to drop a pin and pick up that line in 3 places on the shirt itself. Okay? And I'll show you why I'm doing that here in just a little bit. Put three pins in, all the way down. Okay, now we'll come over to the other side. Grab 3 pins. So you can keep them in your mouth, which is what I tend to do, but I took this thing. So like I told you earlier, my kids like to make fun of me for sewing. and they're like, oh, Dad, you're sewing, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's all well and good, but then I taught my kids how to do this. And then I took this out of my daughter's room when she went off to college. She left it. And look at that. So that's pretty much done at that point. Now I'm simply gonna flip it back right side out and then put it on and test how it fits from there. All right, there we go. I've got it pinned. It's not sewn, it's just pinned, just for a test fit. I flipped it back inside out. I put it on. Now when you put it on gingerly. You have pins in there that if you go too aggressively, you're gonna stick yourself with them, and that sucks, trust me. So put it on just to check the fit. It still fits pretty good. This is a decent little cut of the shirt. So this is a good fit for a casual fit. It's not form fitting. It's nothing like that. It's casual. It can still be untucked, and it isn't going to look goofy and flared way out and anything like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take this to the machine. So I took it back off, laid it back flat, flattened everything out again, just like I told you would. Now I'm going to go on to start messing with the sleeve. I told you I'd bring you back for that. Here we go. Now, I haven't sewn this. All I've done is left the pins in on the lines that I made. But then I went back to my known good shirt, the one that I like the way it fits. So I got it out, and I'm just gonna lay it down. Doesn't really matter inside or out to me. And then I'm gonna take my measuring tape, and all I'm gonna do is measure across the sleeve here. So I'm gonna go from here to here, 7.5 inches. Okay, so then I will make sure this sleeve is laid out nice. Okay, and I will measure it across, 8 inches. So I gotta take 1/2 inch at the outset of this sleeve off. Okay, so at the very end, I've gotta go from 8 inches down to 7.5. I measured this down from 8 inches to 7.5 inches, and all I'm gonna do is pick up this line and go across the armpit right here, and just make it a nice, smooth, easy transition over with my chalk so I can follow it. Then I'm gonna pull out my tape, and I'm gonna check it to see what it is so I can mirror it on the other side. That's 2 inches up into the armpit, which is about right, because now it's going from 2.5 inches that I'm cutting off down here, and it's tapering up to 2 inches in the armpit for the chest area. Now, I'm just gonna use those measurements, do them again, repeat them on the other side. Okay, so I ran that line, pick the line up here and across the armpit, and then out to my 7.5 inch mark. And then I just simply put 2 pins in there because I'm gonna try it on one more time. Make sure everything's right before I sew it. I did the same thing on this side, ran it out, picked up the line, ran it out to my 7.5 inch mark, measured to make sure I'm at 2 inches here, just like I am on the other side. So now everything fits, or everything's matching. So now we'll flip it back inside out, gingerly, because as I said, there are pins in it and they will stick you, and that's not fun. All right, we'll flip it inside out, give it another test fit, and then we'll start working towards sewing. There it is. I flipped it back inside out, put it back on. Remember, when you put it back on, do it gingerly because there are pins in there and it's gonna poke you and it really hurts. So I've done that. Everything fits. I'm happy with the way that all fits. I'm happy with the sleeves. The arms fit just the way I like it. The sides fit good. Everything's ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll for the sewing machine. So the next thing I'll have to do is go over and get the sewing machine set up, and then we'll start sewing. All right, so now we've moved on to where we're at the sewing machine. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get the sewing machine set up. If you wanna see a video on how to do that, put it in the comments below. I'm just gonna run through it. I'm not gonna go overly in depth on what I'm doing. But if you'd like me to, I can do that for you. First thing, another thing too, I talked about it earlier, how I like a big fan of thrift shops. So I picked up this sewing machine at a Goodwill a couple years ago for, I think it was like 30 bucks. I don't think it's ever been used. So they will allow you while you're there to plug things in and make sure that they work. So I plugged it in. It worked. The reverse didn't really work. So I brought it home, took it apart, cleaned it up, and now I've done all kind of stuff with it. So, hey, I recommend just pick one up, buy a sewing machine, learn how to use it. You'll find all kind of value in owning a sewing machine. So, and there's YouTube videos galore that will teach you how to use it. But just here, I'm just gonna go real quick over setting up the machine and getting it ready to start sewing my shirt. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use blue thread. This is the only blue that I have. I'm not running to the store to buy more. So I'm gonna put it in there. I'm gonna put the bobbin. The bobbin is threaded. I'm gonna put that down in where the bobbin goes. Then I will start threading my machine. And it's pretty simple. The machine tells you how to do it. There's all these pictures that show you how to do it on the machine itself. So it's pretty easy. You won't mess it up. This to me seems to be the hardest part, is actually threading the needle, because my eyes aren't so great anymore. There, but look at that, first try. Okay, thread the needle, put it through the presser foot, around the back. Now I'm just gonna by hand roll this down. Thread will come up and it will pick up the thread out of the bobbin. I keep this handy. This is a seam ripper. You're gonna need this, especially when you start out. This is how you take out the mistakes you make. I make a lot of mistakes still because I'm still teaching myself and learning how to do this, but no big deal. That's how we learn, we make mistakes. All right, so then I close this cover back on and it's all set. Now, one thing I like to do before I actually get going on what I'm working on, I have the machine set up. I'm just gonna grab, I have this piece, it's an old t-shirt that my daughter cut up for something. I like to set it in there and just run a few, just do a little sewing on it just to make sure everything's set up properly. So I'm gonna drop the presser foot, I hold, and I hand start. It's in, my foot pedal down here, and it just feeds it through. Easy day. Okay, everything's set there. I'm gonna go ahead and run it in reverse. Everything's working there. Lift up the presser foot, pull it out. There's a cutter there. I check, I've got good tension. I've got good space, good length and width. So we'll call that good enough to start. All right, so let's get the machine finished set up. Okay, and then we'll bring our shirt over here, our work piece. And then we'll set it how we want to sew it. All right, so remember, we have our lines all drawn in, and you can start at one spot and carry all the way through till you're done. It'll just go all the way around. I'm gonna set this shirt on this particular side to go ahead and start at the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna set it up on my line. Put my presser foot down, and go ahead and get that started. Now, I got this pin here. I'll take it out before I get there, but I'm gonna run it up a few, hit reverse to lock the threads. Okay, and then we'll just get going nice and easy, following our line. With this particular one, I'm staying on my line. I'm not giving it a lot of space. I can't remember, there's an actual term for it. I can't remember what that term is, but I'm just gonna pull this through, nice and easy, following my line. Now, you don't have to get in a big hurry. You don't have to go fast. You don't have to do any of that. Just sew it nice and slow. However fast you feel comfortable that you're gonna stay on the line, and everything's gonna work the way you want it to work. Okay, I get up to my pin, pull it out, put it on there, and I just continue to feed it slowly through the machine. Trying to keep it moving nice and straight. One thing I've watched on YouTube videos where I've got into some of the sewing tutorials is they say don't look directly at the needle where you're sewing, because it'll cause you to run off tempo. Just run it through, pay attention to where your line or whatever is on your presser foot, and just roll nice and easy with it. So when I stop, I like to try to leave the needle in the thread or in the fabric, because it's going to hold it exactly the way I want it. And that got a little out of hand on me there, which that happens sometimes. It's not a big deal, especially since I'm doing now. I'm gonna go all the way to the very end. When I get real close, since I'm not 100%, I'm not perfect at this, I'm still learning. I always get right at the very end, I'll do it by hand. Then I'm gonna hit my reverse, go back 3 or 4 threads over, hit my forward, go 3 or 4 threads through again, and then pull it out, lift my presser foot, cut my threads. Okay, I've got that side completely sewn. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spin over, flip over to the other side, and do it. There we have it set, and it's all sewn. Both sides are done. We're going to flip it back inside out and throw it on, give it the first test fit. There we go. So I got it all flipped back right side out, put it on. Everything seems to fit appropriately. It's not too big anymore. It fits just about right, nice for a, just a nice, easy hangout shirt. Anyway, so I put the sleeves on. The sleeves fit good. I like the way they fit. However, I think they're just a little bit too long. So as you see, about 1 inch too long. As you see, I've rolled them up just to test how they fit like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hem these sleeves into a new length because they were all the way down here and I don't like that. So I've got them rolled to where I think they should be. So I will go ahead and cut them, prep them, and hem them and put them in the right spot, and then we'll go along and see how we do that. But after that, everything should be good to go. It's a nice little shirt for a luau. Okay, so I said I was gonna cut these sleeves down, which I'm going to. Well, I'm not even gonna cut them. All I'm gonna do is just fold them over and sew them where I want them to go. That way I don't have to cut and finish and do all of that. But I'm gonna do that after I go ahead and put a new finish on the edge of the shirt. There's a couple of ways to do that. If you look at the way this is done on here, this is done by a serger, special machine. I don't have a serger. I have seen some at Goodwill, I just never bought one. I'm gonna show you how I do it. I'll just do it with a zigzag on the machine itself. And if you have a sewing machine, 90% of them are gonna run a zigzag stitch, and then you can just zigzag over the edge. That way the shirt can be washed and continue to be used. Because if I just cut this excess off and leave it, it'll fray and come apart like if you wash it and anything like that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go out about 1/4 of an inch all the way up my stitch seam that I just did with my scissors and cut off the extra fabric. And just nice and easy. It doesn't have to be precise. This isn't, the Kingsman or nothing. Nothing fancy. No James Bond. Okay, so I just go up 1/4 of an inch, and then just to make my life a little easier, I'll come down this way 1/4 of an inch. And this will also change the way the shirt fits a little bit once you get this done and put it all back together, because now you're not going to have the extra material bunched up in there. So there it is. Maybe we can make a tie or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll do it to the other side, just like we just did. Same thing. I'm gonna start up here, and I'm gonna go down about 1/4 of an inch and just cut 1/4 of an inch from my stitched seam. And then we will put a zigzag all the way down these edges, and that'll seal up the edge and give it a little bit of a finish. I mean, it's not going to be the same as a serger, however, it'll work. I've done a lot of shirts that way, and they're still holding up. So here we go, back to the machine. Here we are. We're going to go ahead and set up the machine to do the zigzag stitch. Now, very handy. My machine came with the owner's manual. I can flip it open, and it shows me how to set it all up right here, zigzag stitches. It's going to tell me that I need to switch the stitch selector, which is a knob, to the picture of a zigzag. So I'll pop that over one. Then it tells me my top thread tension control needs to be set from 3 to 8. Mine's set at 4. And then it says switch width control 3 to 5. So this is the width right here. I'm gonna put it at 4. And then it says stitch length control in the orange zone. So I'm in the orange zone, see? Orange all the way across. It shows in the picture that it's set between 1 and 2. So I went ahead and did that. So that should have the machine set up to run a zigzag stitch. And the zigzag stitch is just what its name implies. The needle, as it goes, is going to bounce back and forth like this, and then it's gonna, so that it creates a zigzag. So just to make sure I've got everything set the proper way, I'm gonna take my practice piece of material, go ahead and set that in there, run the presser foot down, run my needle down, and then I'm gonna slowly get started and watch it zigzag. See that? See what it's doing? Now, I'm probably not using the right fabric, but I'm just setting up the machine, so it doesn't really matter. When you're setting up your machine, you want to use the fabric similar to what you're going to be working with. But here we go. I'm just going to run this through a little bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I ran it through, cut it off. And that's what we're going to do to finish our edge on our shirt. Finish our cut edge that we just cut off. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to set the shirt at the bottom in on the very edge. Notice I've set ran my needle to where it's off to the side, one side versus the other, because that needle's going to run that way. Okay, so then I'm going to stick my fabric or whatever it is I'm working on, in this case my shirt, and I'm going to put it right there on the very edge to where it's right there on the edge. See how this is running on the edge of my presser foot, my edge that I need finished, my unfinished edge? Because this zigzag, now this fabric is going to go across, right? And it's going to lock the edge fabric. I'm going to run my length, let's run it down about there. So I'm going to first, as I always do because I'm new at this, is I set my machine in, okay? And then I'm just going to run the machine. I'm going to start it. See how it goes off the edge of the fabric? That's what I want. And now I'm going to back it up a little bit just to lock it. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started and let it go the whole way, all up that edge that we just cut off. And that is going to lock that fabric down and give us a nice finished edge. If it was like Halloween costume, one-time use, you don't need to do that. But since it's a shirt, I might wear it again. Who knows? As it started to give tension against me, the material did, I stopped and readjusted the material where it'll slide easily. Whenever I stop, I try to set the needle into the thread, or excuse me, the needle into the fabric, so that I can pull and adjust and it holds it right where it was. We're stopping right there so I can pull out my scissors and cut off this little excess piece because I don't want that in the mix. So we cut that off, clean this up. This is gonna also, like I said, it's gonna change the way the shirt fits. So when I do this and I try it back on, it's gonna change how the sleeve fit too, because there's not as much fabric bunched up in there. All right, so make sure you double check it once you're done. All the way to the very edge, and for the last couple of stitches I'll do it by hand. Okay, and then I'll hit reverse. Just go a couple stitches down and then a couple stitches forward again. Up, cut it free. And if you look at that, we have a nice finished edge that's not just going to fray and come apart like this here. So I cut them off. Just to clean it up a little bit. Clean that up, and then we'll move over to the other side. Do the whole thing again. Talked about, I said that the sleeves were about 1 inch too long, and there's a couple of ways to go about this. I could cut this off, roll it over 2 times so that I don't have to refinish a cut edge, so it'll just be inside of itself, or I can just roll this thing under to the 1 inch mark that I want and save all the extra work. It just depends on how much fabric is in here and how tight it's going to be. I think the fabric amount is fine. I don't have a problem with it. And since I said the sleeves are only 1 inch too long, I'll measure this. If I put that measuring tape from that hem stitch that's already there from the factory, it's 1 inch. So that's real simple. All I'm going to do then is go ahead. This doesn't necessarily have to be, the shirt doesn't have to be turned inside out to do this. None of that. It's just simple. I'm going to roll this in to its original hem line. Basically, I'm going to use the thread that's already there as my folding mark and roll it in just like that. Check it. That's about where I want it. It doesn't have to be precision, not precise. None of this really is that big of a deal. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pins and I'm only going to gather one section of this and go here, here, just like that. Okay, make sure you don't do the whole sleeve, or obviously. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna do it in a couple of spots. I'll do it down here at the bottom. I'm just gonna fold it and pin it. Okay, and then I'll do it up at the top. Check my line where I want it, roll it in my fingers till I get it there, fold it, pin it, just like that. The other side, same thing. I'll put probably 2 more in there. Check it to where I want it, pin it, just like that, see? I'm gonna go ahead and do 1 more on this side, in, through. There, it's pinned in place. That's the length of the sleeve that I want. Go ahead and spin it around. Do it again over here. Get the machine set up and get moving. The machine's set to do a straight stitch. All I'm going to do is run it through to verify that it's still going straight, and it is. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we have to be able to put this sleeve over top of the base of the machine. These older machines, some of them, have this little box on here, and it's full of tools and extra presser feet and needles and all that stuff. And I keep my threaded bobbins in there. I pop this off, it's out of the way. Now, this sleeve will fit over this presser foot. This is a handy attachment, piece of gear to have when you have a sewing machine. So I can slip this on into the bottom. Now, if you look down here by the presser feet, there's little measurements. A couple of things you can do. Usually I'll grab a magnet, 5/8. There's a 5/8 mark right there. So it's set where I want it. So I got all that adjusted. I've got it set at 5/8. I got my presser foot set down at the very bottom, the armpit seam of the shirt. I'll go ahead, get everything the way I want it setting, just like that. Keep it nice and smooth. Go ahead and start it, as I always do, by hand. I'll start at 1 and 2. I'll get it started by hand. And then I will go ahead and give it a couple of stitches to get started. Okay, and then I'll give it a backward to lock it. Okay, and then run this through, pull this pin. Now we're just going to guide this along and keep our fabric up against that magnet as it goes all the way through, and then we know that our stitch is going through 5/8 of an inch from the edge. There it is, hemmed up and out of the way. Now we'll do one more. Flip the shirt over to the other side and do the whole process one more time. Last thing I'm going to do after I've done all of that is all my new edges are kind of loose and puffy. They're not nice and flat and crisp like the shirt would normally be when you buy it from the store. That's because I've made adjustments, and now I need to press those edges back out. Now, pay attention inside of your shirt. Go ahead and find your instructions in here, and like this one says, cool iron. That's because this material is a synthetic material, and if your iron is too hot, you will just melt it. Again, ask me how I know. So I found my iron, I set it to synthetic. This iron's got a setting for it, set it to synthetic. And then I grab a piece of that stuff that I cut off just to test it, make sure. I'll put it on there, make sure that I can iron it cool and it's not going to do anything crazy. It's not gonna melt, it's not gonna mess it up, okay? So I tested it, checked it, it's all good. It's nice and cool. It's not, by cool, I mean, yeah, if you touch the bottom of that thing, it's still gonna burn you. It's hot, but it's not hot enough to melt the synthetic fabric. So then I'll lay my shirt out here along that edge that I just sewed and resize the shirt. So I'm gonna find that edge. See how it's kind of puffy there? I'm gonna find it, lay it out here on, I'm using a towel on the table that I've been working on all day. Normally I would run upstairs where I have my iron set up and do it up there, but I just have all this stuff set up here to do it here. So I'm gonna lay this out nice and flat and smooth and even. See, it almost got me. I'm gonna find my edge that I sewed into it. Find my edge. There it is, okay? Now I'm just gonna take that iron, set that edge back out smooth. All done. Last thing to do is put it on, give it a good test run, and see how she looks. Got it all pressed out, put it on, everything fits the way I want it to fit. It's nice, looks good, sleeve lengths are good, width fits just right. So there we go. Pay attention to the next ones. If you want to like what you see here, you want to see some more, let me know, and hit the like, subscribe, do those things, and until next time, keep doing work.